Tonight, airport parking fees set to rise in Rockhampton.
Trust in governments lost during the pandemic.
The Fitzroy River rowing course to be salvaged.
And $10,000 to catch a thready in the Fitzroy.
This is 7 News with Joanne, Desmond and Nathan Spurling.
Good evening, thanks for joining us.
Good evening.
Well, first tonight, Rockhampton residents could be looking at a fresh cost of living blow, with council considering an increase in fees this financial year. Planned changes including paying more for airport parking and increased rental costs for parks and event spaces.
Rockhampton Council is hitting residents with fee hikes.
We understand the pressures on families, but we are a business that runs on behalf of the community, so that money has to go in. Other than that, we have to start cutting services.
Council will be increasing charges for event spaces, stall holder permits at the Heritage Village and long-term airport parking.
If you stay for 10 days, $450 and then $30 every day after that.
All they're really offering you is some space and a little bit of security, so I think it might be a little bit over the top.
The acting mayor says council faces tough choices, balancing community needs with rising operational costs.
Council's exposed to that as well, so when we do a new road or build a new amenities or a dog park somewhere, the cost of everything of that is just phenomenal.
Gladstone Regional Council is also increasing fees for event spaces.
It seems like they could be doing more to help people with the cost of living crisis. To me, it seems like the wrong thing to do in the middle of that.
While some locals are frustrated, others are backing council's decision to lift fees to maintain the services.
Yes, it's unfortunate, but money doesn't come from nowhere, so they need to do something. I do think the council does do a pretty good job of looking after its locals.
Nadia Lord, 7 News.
Heavy-handed COVID lockdowns and school closures have been slammed by a report into Australia's response to the pandemic. It shows trust has been severely eroded and lockdowns took a major toll on mental health, but Queensland managed more effectively than other states.
After enduring seemingly endless lockdowns, masks and vaccinations, Queenslanders are learning to live with COVID, but it was a steep learning curve.
Australia wasn't prepared, the world wasn't prepared for such a big, infection.
The COVID-19 inquiry was scathing of the states and those who imposed harsh border closures, particularly here in Queensland and in Western Australia.
We were the first state to put in a public health emergency.
Data reveals 20,000 Australians died as a result of COVID. But despite the sobering statistic, people also lost trust in governments.
If you don't give people good reason for what you're asking them to do, particularly if it's a really big behavioural change, they're not going to do it.
I think we would probably not be as well off because of the lack of trust in the messaging that would come from governments and experts.
Mental health issues, particularly among children, surged.
Really those downstream effects on children who were not permitted or prevented from socialising with their peers and being in school.
One of the report's 26 recommendations highlights the need for a $250 million centre for disease control. Australia is the only OECD country lacking a national facility.
We desperately need one, and it shouldn't just be for managing pandemics or communicable diseases. We need a Centre for Disease Control that provides national guidance on health across the board.
Hannah Watt, 7 News.
Hundreds of mining union members have gatecrashed BHP's annual meeting in Brisbane, protesting over pay laws. They say contractors should be paid the same rate as full-time employees, and BHP should stop fighting the government's same job, same pay laws.
We need to come clean and accept same job, same pay is here to stay.
Dozens of climate protesters called out the company for its overuse of coal. BHP responded, saying it's on track to meet its target of a 30% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030.
Cost of living is cooling, with inflation down to a 3.5-year low. Despite dipping back into the Reserve Bank's target bracket, economists believe it won't trigger an interest rate cut. Business editor Amelia Brace has more.
There was a glimmer of hope for mortgage holders this afternoon, with today's better than expected inflation data causing some to call for interest rate cuts this year. CPI rose just 0.2% in the September quarter, bringing the annual rate to 2.8%, which is slightly better than expected. This means inflation is at its lowest in 3.5 years.
We are making welcome and encouraging progress in the fight against inflation, but we know that Australians are still doing it tough.
This will be seen as a temporary decline by the Reserve Bank, caused by one-off government power rebates and lower petrol prices. In fact, the RBA expects inflation to jump back up around 3.5% when those measures expire.
Temporary subsidies will not hoodwink the Reserve Bank of Australia, and they certainly won't hoodwink the Australian public.
So while today's figure is finally within the bank's target range of 2 to 3%, economists say it will want to see a more sustainable reduction with at least one more quarter within that target band before considering any interest rate cuts. As for what this means for next week when the RBA meets on Melbourne Cup Day, my bet is rates will remain steady.
All right, thanks for that, Amelia. Well, Rockhampton Council is preparing for the 2025 State Rowing Regatta with a temporary course solution after it was badly damaged by storms earlier this year. Council will allocate $50,000 to set up the course using existing infrastructure, aiming to support the regatta. Other options included a complete replacement, which would have cost around $250,000, or withdrawing support for next year's regatta.
An Aussie mining contractor is in danger of being wound up after insolvency specialists were appointed as administrators. One Key Resources first opened 14 years ago in regional Queensland. Georgie May Walker has more.
Despite administrators being appointed to One Key Resources, as of today, it's still advertising 22 jobs on its website. The company currently provides mining contractors across the country, specialising in finding workers skilled in open cut and underground mining, infrastructure and resources and energy. Its website says it's grown to be a trusted partner for its clients and an employer of choice in the industry. 4 administrators from Hall Chadwick were appointed to One Key Resources on Monday under the Corporations Act 2001. The Act states the company may appoint an administrator if the company board thinks it will become insolvent or bankrupt in some future time. Hall Chadwick says its purpose is to allow an independent insolvency practitioner to take control of the company during which creditors' claims are put on hold. And the administrators and their staff are available to discuss the continued operations and assist with any queries from stakeholders, including creditors and employees. 7 News reached out to One Key Resources for comment, but it did not respond to our request.
Plans for the new Arrivals Plaza on Great Keppel Island are taking shape. The proposed precinct on Fisherman's Beach will include a visitor centre, amenities block, exhibition area and beach showers. The centre will highlight local culture, the Wapabara Rangers welcoming new visitors. Livingston Shire Council is asking locals to have their say on the project. Residents can view the designs and share their feedback online or at council service centres to help shape the plaza.
Hot on the heels of the Barra Bash, and Rockhampton's Fitzroy River is making a splash with the ultimate cash catch competition. Anglers can cast their lines with the chance of hooking a tagged threadfin and a chance at a whopping $10,000 cash prize.
Anglers from across the region are expected to gather along the Fitzroy River for the annual competition, which is perfectly timed.
We have barramundi throughout the year, but there is a closed season for barramundi between the 1st of November and the 1st of February. So this competition runs during that period.
The competition is about catching the prize tagged threadfin salmon,
which is a beautiful fish. Very, very prominent here in the Fitzroy River. And if you catch one of the 25 tagged fish, you win $10,000.
Frenchville Sports Club is running the event, building on Central Queenslanders' love of fishing.
It's come on leaps and bounds since the nets were taken out of the river some years ago, and now the river is very clean. It's great for tourism in Rockhampton and the economic development of the region.
It comes off the back of the club's successful Fitzroy River Barrabash.
An idea we had 7 years ago and thought we'll give this a try. We don't know how it's going to go. We might burn ourselves, and we're getting numerous people trying to line up for the Barrabash that miss out.
If the thready isn't caught this year, the $10,000 will jackpot to $20,000 next year. Christian Penny, 7 News.
Get out there and have a go. I think that's what they're saying.
Couldn't catch a cold, but good luck to those chasing the 10,000.
All right, well, ahead tonight, major safety improvements for the world's most popular ag plane.
And in the spirit of Halloween, Queensland tops the list for spine-chilling places.
Central Queensland turns to 7 News to keep up to date on local issues, and we want you to be a part of it. If there's something happening in your street, your suburb, we want to know about it. Send us a message or drop us an email.
And thanks for joining us here on 7. The manufacturer of the world's most popular agricultural plane has revealed it's made safety improvements following the death of a pilot. 32-year-old Tom Gray lost control of his crop duster in 2022 when he experienced a bird strike. Josh Van Staden has more.
The crash in September 2022 was so severe, investigators say it was not possible for anyone to have survived. A coroner has now handed down a report into what could have been done to prevent it. 32-year-old pilot Tom Gray was found dead after not returning from routine crop spraying near Chinchilla. He'd been working for a family-owned business and was regarded as an experienced operator. A bird strike shattered the windshield of his aircraft while flying at 200 kilometres an hour. 5 seconds later, the plane hit the ground. As of June last year, the incident was the first time a fatal bird strike had been recorded with the plane in Australia. The aircraft is considered the world's most popular agricultural plane, manufactured by US company Air Tractor. The company says stronger and more durable windshields have been around for 15 years, but Tom's aircraft didn't have one. It has used even more advanced windshields in aircraft manufactured since the accident to offer a greater level of protection from objects like drones or birds. The coroner says the findings highlight the risk of crop dusting, especially when flying at low levels.
All right, thanks for that, Josh. Marine Rescue Gladstone will host an open day this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There'll be a chance to meet volunteers, to explore the vessels and learn more about their vital work. There'll also be demonstrations on using safety flares and properly fitting life jackets, plus giveaways and a sausage sizzle at their base at 268 Alf O'Rourke Drive in Kalamunda.
If you're looking for a fright tomorrow night, you could be in luck. Queensland has the highest number of haunted hotspots of any state. Hotels and pubs dominate the spooky sightings, and property growth in the regions has never been better.
Ghosts and ghouls have made Queensland their haunting ground in hotels, pubs and restaurants.
I was surprised, but at the same time, not so surprised.
The Ray White Group has discovered 296 haunted locations across Australia, 66 of those in regional Queensland.
You see a lot here and there on social media and stuff.
No, it's actually not spooky, no.
We're here in Toowoomba, which some call the paranormal capital of Australia, and this is the Royal Bull's Head Inn, the oldest standing building in the city, where several ghosts have been sighted.
And I'm more frightened of the people from the hotel across the road.
While Maryborough, the home of Mary Poppins, boasts 4 haunted locations, the same amount reported in Townsville and Rockhampton.
It seems regional Queensland is a hub for that, for better or worse.
Atom says the spooks aren't scaring people away as property prices across regional Queensland continue to grow.
It spirals outward from the centres such as Brisbane, Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast.
Aussies are more than willing to get spooky for a treat, with homes decked out for Halloween tomorrow night. Tom Duffy, 7 News.
All right, well, time now for All the Day Sport with Nathan. The footy news just continues.
It does, Joe. Dingo's Ben Hunt will have a new NRL home next year, while Rocky Brothers have named their coach for 2025. And the Falcons skipper, you can see he's in a bit of doubt for the Rocky Cricket top of the table showdown.
Stream 7 News anywhere, anytime, live and on demand on 7plus. And with 7news.com.au, you'll know the news now.
And welcome back for all of tonight's sport. Dingo's Ben Hunt will be playing for a new club in next year's NRL after the 34-year-old and the Dragons officially parted ways today. Attention now turns to where Hunt will end up in 2025, with several clubs interested in the halfback, including a return home to Queensland, maybe at the Gold Coast Titans. The 334-game veteran had asked to be released from the Dragons several times, and today's decision ends more than 12 months of turmoil surrounding his relationship with the club. Sticking with league, and Rocky Brothers have locked in their coach for next year's competition. Damien Seibold will once again take the reins of the Vicky Park-based club, and he's determined to get the proud club back on top.
While the coach is coming back, there'll be some familiar faces absent from Vicky Park next year.
We'll have a little bit of a turnover in players. A couple of the older guys who've hung the boots up, so there'll be a slight changing of the guard, but it's a really good opportunity for some of the younger fellas to step up.
Captain Lachlan Campbell and Mitch Power will be big losses for the club in 2025.
Someone like Cambo obviously has been our leader, our captain, so he's decided to retire and give his body a break. Mitchell Power as well. He's another one that we're going to miss. Mitch is hanging up the boots as well.
But it's not all bad news for the Brethren as they look to strengthen their stocks for the future.
There's also some players that are moving back to the area that are Rocky Brothers juniors, and really excited to see them pull the butcher stripes on again.
Seibold's main aim for season 2025 is to get Brothers back on top of the Rockhampton A-grade premiership.
100%, mate. I mean, it's why we do it. Everyone likes to win, whatever competition that they're in or whatever they're competing in. So it's definitely something that's eating away at us.
Brad Villiers, 7 News.
The Frenchville Falcons have had the perfect start to this year's Rocky Cricket comp with 2 wins from 2 games. But they could be missing their inspirational skipper for Saturday's top-of-the-table clash, with an injury cloud hanging over Joe McGann.
The Falcons are sweating on the fitness of captain Joe McGann following an on-field incident in Sunday's RPL clash.
They're going okay. They're fairly bruised and swollen at the moment. Just a little mishap in the field in the RPL game on Sunday, but nothing too serious.
McGann expects that he'll be right to line up on Saturday, and the Falcons will want him on board when they take on the Glen in the top-of-the-table clash.
As long as I can remember, the clashes against the Glen have always been really competitive, and usually they go down to the wire.
Frenchville are off to the perfect start this season. However, their wins haven't been up to their usual dominant standard.
Yeah, definitely. We've got results go our way. Weekend's game against Cape Coast, definitely not how we'd want to win games. It was a pretty gritty win.
There is plenty of cricket on at the moment, with A-grade, RPL and representative games all being played.
There's heaps on. It gets a bit tough for an old fella like me. But yeah, it's good to see a lot of different cricketers in different teams, and you get a good view of what's around the place.
Brad Villiers, 7 News.
Knowing Joe, it'll be hard to keep him off the pitch Saturday. We'll see what happens, Joe.
Yeah,
that's it for
we
sport.
will. All right, thanks for that, Nave. Stay with us after the break. Livio joins us and he'll have all the weather details for us.
Well, good evening. Livio Regano with tonight's weather. It's been an almost rainless day across the Sunshine State, but that will change from tomorrow as thunderstorms start brewing inland and slowly drift towards the coast. They'll just be isolated. It's also going to get really warm for the second half of this week as we welcome November into the playing field. Temperatures today ranged from 13 degrees at the bottom end to mid-30s at the top. The warmest was Emerald, where the mercury hit 34 degrees. To the satellite loop now, quite as expected. In fact, most of the activities now around the Gulf country, where in fact there's a heat wave warning at the moment too, to add insult to injury. But certainly very quiet across Queensland, with no real evidence of convection or showers or thunderstorms going of any significance. Now on today's chart, You can see the inland trough has drifted a long way west. There's supposed to be an H in the middle of that ring. In other words, just a weak high sitting over Queensland, and that's led to very light winds and generally good boating weather across the state, well, coastal weather I should say. On tomorrow's chart though, the inland trough starts to drift further east, closer to the coast, and we start to see the development of northerlies. They're hotter winds and they'll start to strengthen, making boating conditions a little bit more choppy. Storms will form on the trough and start to head towards the coast, but they will be mainly inland. On the outlook chart though, as the trough heads further east still, that's the best chance for southern coastal areas to get a thunderstorm before a cool change finally moves in the form of that trough on Saturday, bringing the temperature down by a few degrees. Not in the tropics though. And now the latest from BOM, the boating forecast for Capricornia waters, straight northerlies tomorrow, 15 to 20 knots. Same again on Friday, and on Saturday north to northeasterlies dropping below 15 knots. Tomorrow's almost new moon, so tides are getting pretty big. We start the day with the first of 2 high tides, the second being late in the evening, with a low tide in the afternoon. Capricornia district, we've got showers mainly in the south, and there could be a late thunderstorm. For Gladstone, it's 31 degrees. Rocky and Billowila, 34. Yeppoon, 29. Central Highlands and Coalfields, a chance of an afternoon storm and a high fire danger. Emerald, 18 up to 36 degrees. Claremont and Moranbah, 35. Looking ahead for Rockhampton, there's a small chance of rain almost every day, but Friday is the most likely time for a storm when the temperature reaches its peak, followed by a slightly cooler weekend. And that's all the weather for tonight. Pleasure to have your company, and thanks for watching 7 Local Weather. I'll be here again tomorrow with the next page of the Great Weather Book. Hope you can join me. Now it's back to the team.
Great, thanks for that, Livio. And that's all from us for this Wednesday night. Thanks for your company.
Just a reminder, if you'd like to see anything again from our news, you can view it on 7plus or download the 7 News app. So from everyone here, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.